are listening to Think Theory Radio.
Hello and welcome to Think Theory Radio, the show that brings you topics outside the mainstream realm of thought and ideas to make you think. And I'm your host, Damien Perdue, your international guide on this travel ride of audio delights. And of course, I'm joined by Paulie C.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Nice. And today the C stands for Chianti Classico.
Sí, Chianti Classico.
And that's because today I'm going to do a little travel log episode. I believe this is travel log 4, kind of.
That's what you titled it.
Yeah. Well, because I know I did 2 about Mexico, and then I had one with my brother on, where we talked about kind of he's a digital nomad-ish, although he's kind of settled down now. But travel, we talked a lot about travel. So I call it a travel log. It fits in the realm.
Yeah.
And for those that were paying attention or cared, I was not on the air the last 2 Saturdays. Well, I guess I was on the air. My voice was on the air, just not me live.
We did replays.
Yeah. The best ofs. Mm-hmm. And that's because I was traveling in Europe. I was abroad, living the life, the fantasy life, for 1 week. And it felt good because I actually hadn't been out to Europe in like 10 years. And I got the opportunity to go because a buddy of mine, Morgan, who I've known since grade school, he's the beverage director for Italy, NYC, but he's I call him the wine buyer because he's the man when it comes to wine. And he's been out there a ton of times. He knows all these people at vineyards and wine buyers, wine owners, the whole business. And he's been going out there a bunch. And I've always told him for years now, like, hey, man, you got to let me know when you're going out there and if I could go with you. And so, about a month ago, he said, well, I'm going out again. You want to go? Let's do it. And so I made it happen, and he made it happen. And he was already there a week for work, so we decided to meet in Brussels first because neither of us had ever been there. We like Belgian beer, Belgian chocolate, Belgian waffles, French fries. So we met there for 3 days, and then we went to Tuscany, Italy, Toscano, for 4 days, and stayed at a winery. But I'll get to that in a second. First off, you know how I like synchronicity and time and numbers. So the trip started off in a crazy way because, one, we were both going to touch down, me coming in from Chicago, him coming in from Italy, into Brussels on the Saturday morning. But I was going to get in like 2 hours earlier. So I was just going to wait for him at the airport because what's the point? Go to the Airbnb or whatever, just wait for him. And I get to O'Hare, and of course, boom, flight's delayed. First it's an hour, little by little. And it was just the weirdest thing. It was delayed because they couldn't get the catering food on the plane or something. Like the flight food, they were having a problem getting it on the plane, which I thought was like the weirdest kind of delay, It was an overnight flight, so I was like, can we just skip the food? I'll just go to sleep.
Just give me a blanket and turn the lights out.
Exactly. You want peanuts?
Wake me up in Brussels.
Right. So we had to wait for that. It ended up being a 2-hour delay.
Jeez.
So that pushed the time to almost exactly when my friend was going to land. So, I sent him a text before I left to say, hey, my flight was delayed, but I should be touching down around the same time you're getting in. Boom, plane lands, and I, turn my phone on, get a text from him. He's like, hey, I just landed, and I saw that you just landed, right? Both our planes landed at 10:49.
What?
Yeah. Which is pretty insane when you think about all the different flights from we're coming from 2 different places, and all, and the fact that it was delayed, that we both landed exactly at the same time.
Yeah, when that air traffic controller is guiding planes in, little did he know that 2 friends are coming in back-to-back planes.
I gotta get these guys in at the same time. Let's see if we can do it.
So looking at these itineraries here, why does he have access to that?
He's looking up our Facebook pages. He's like, they know each other. I think they went to grade school together. That'll be when AI takes over. It just knows everything about everyone on the plane. we know you like roses. Here's some but I thought that was just kind of cool. Now, obviously, it could be, whatever, a minute or two off. But from what his, flight log said on my flight log, at 10:49, we both landed. It was pretty insane. So we met up, stayed in the Dansart neighborhood, or Dansart neighborhood in Brussels, which is kind of like, it's super close to their downtown, if you want to call it that, or their kind of main center. And it's kind of an artsy neighborhood. It's like an old school neighborhood, kind of like what Wicker Park used to be, or like, Old Town or something. But
I don't know if you said it. Did you have a connecting flight or a direct flight?
I had direct flight there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that was good. And that was kind of one of the reasons I picked Brussels too, to get, not have to worry about, like, because it was only doing a week. So
O'Hare Brussels connection there. Which airline?
I was United.
Oh, wow.
United,
okay.
And then Swiss on the way back, but it was I guess they operate together or something.
Okay.
The way back, I had to fly through Zurich, and so it was a longer time to get back, which was actually pretty cool because I got to see the Swiss Alps from the plane.
Cool.
That was a gorgeous view. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, worth the extra hour.
Yeah.
And so, we get in. We had a really nice Airbnb, woman named Sarah. So look over at Airbnb if you're going to Brussels. Great place, awesome apartment, right walking distance from everything. Pretty cool little neighborhood. There was a great cocktail bar right down the block. And we get in. I think it was like, 11, noon. I think by the time we settled down, it was about noon or so, 1. And, of course, all right, where are we going to go eat? And a friend of mine had told me about this place called, it's got a weird kind of pronunciation because it's spelled IN apostrophe T is the first word, and then Spinnekopke. So it's like in it Spinnekopke.
Okay.
Which I guess I think it's Flemish, means something like inside the mind of a spider.
Okay.
Or like the mother spider or something. And it's the building, it used to be an inn back in the 1700s. So it's a really old building, and it's a newer restaurant. They're bringing back kind of like traditional Belgian food and kind of Flemish style. And they had the lambic beers there from Cotillon, which is or Cotillon, or whatever how you pronounce it. But it's the oldest brewery left in Brussels. You've had lambic beer before, right? It's kind of like, it's kind of a soury, almost champagne wine-ish kind of beer.
Okay. Is that like a style then?
Yeah, lambic.
Yeah, okay, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Is that like
It's pretty strong.
Okay.
So we went there, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're all booked for the day." And we're like, "Oh man, we really wanted to check this place out." Now my buddy, he's been in the restaurant industry for years, so he kind of looks at me like, "Yeah, right." So he pulls the old industry stuff. He's like, "Well, all right, well, you guys got a waiting list." "Oh yeah, we'll put your name on, but we're probably not going to get you in. Just let you know." Like, okay. So we walked, and we found this place called Fitzgard, which had boasted that they had some of the best frites in Brussels, fries, because French fries there, it's a huge thing. Or frites, if you want to call them, whatever.
Okay.
Frites. And, of course, we had to get a Belgian beer to start it off. I'm trying to remember. I got to look up the picture because we had this beer I hadn't had before, but it was really good. And it was pretty strong. It was like, my friend was like, "You sure you want to start off with this strong of a beer?" It was like, I want to say 13%.
Go big, man. Europe, baby.
I was like, come on, man, we got to do it. It's called Pax Dieu.
Okay.
Paixdieu. It was a triple style beer, which is another kind of Belgian beer. And the spot was cool. It had, outdoor seating. It's right in, you could see the big plaza in the center. And there's, right in view of us is the what is it called? Well, they call it now, it's the Belgian Beer World Experience, or the Beer Museum, but the building's called the Bourse, which used to be their stock exchange, which was built in the 1800s. So it's a beautiful old kind of, Renaissance style building, or neo-Renaissance or whatever. So like looking at that, we ordered some fries, which were actually it was funny because it was the first ones we had, and those were probably the best fries we had in Brussels because we tried a couple other places they were okay. I mean, honestly, there's better French fries in Chicago than the other ones we had, but beer was great. Went there, then we walked around, saw a huge Stella bar, which Stella is also Belgian beer. So we're like, all right, we got to have a Stella while in Brussels. So we sit down at a little outdoor cafe.
Taste any better in Brussels?
Oh, so much better. No, I
don't know.
I mean, at that point, it was kind of hard to tell after having a 13% beer. So it was like, it's
everything tasted great.
It's like, this is great, especially when you're traveling. It's just kind of everything tastes better. And we're sitting outside, and it was nice. And then, of course, next thing you know, he gets a call from It's Been a Couple of K that, hey, guess what? A table opened up for you guys, right? And actually, we had fries, but we also had I had a veggie burger. He had a burger, a cheeseburger at the other place, and he's like, man, they opened up. He was like, they got a spot for whatever it was, 6:30. At this point, I think it was like 4. He's like, do you want to eat again? I'm like, let's just do it. Come on, man, we're here. Like, we're not gonna be able to go to that place again,
Yeah.
And so, we ended up walked around, and we went over there, ate another meal like 2 hours later, which was really cool because they have a huge vegetarian menu. They have like all this, traditional Flemish stuff. So my friend got a spider steak, which I don't know if you've ever had that or heard of that. It's some style of steak.
No.
Which I think is why the place is called like Inside the Spider Mind or whatever.
Okay.
But it's like spider steak is a thing. But I had a veggie meatloaf, which was really good. And we had the lambic beer. Get our buzz on a little more. And then I don't remember the rest of the night. No.
Did you ever see a Tomium while you were out there?
You know what? I saw pictures of it around town. We weren't really close to it. We thought about maybe going there on our last day, but we didn't make it. But yeah, I kind of wanted to check it out because it's like atomic. Atomic nuclei sculpture.
Yeah, but I looking at it, I was like, oh, wow, that looks really neat. Like really like a big sculpture, like a big tower.
Yeah, and you can go inside of it. It's kind of like the St. Louis Arch. Yeah. Like it would be is their kind of like arch thing.
Except for way more interesting than an arch, though, because it's got all these different like balls, like, Yeah,
it looks like the atomic structure, like the traditional, like, nuclei.
Yeah.
Like the what is it? the neutrons. No, it's the Springfield.
I have no idea.
From Simpsons.
Oh, the
neutrinos. No, what's the
I don't.
Their logo. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
The isotopes.
Yes. Yeah. Isotopes. There you go. And so we didn't make it there. That was in the plan, but we just started walking around, and the best thing was like all these random things we found. We're going around town. We found this really cool plaza, and all of a sudden there was like a Bolivian festival. Bolivian in the middle of Brussels. I didn't even know there were Bolivian people in Brussels. So that was, and it was like traditional music. They had the dancers, everything, this band. That was pretty cool. We walked around some more, found a couple other little spots to hang out at. And then we went to, it was kind of like a beer bar, outdoorsy in that same plaza. Had some really good local like Belgian IPAs, which was kind of honestly one of the best beers we had there.
Okay.
It was really good. I wish I remember the name. I don't think I took a picture, and then I had to go. So I'm a big fan of Delirium. Delirium Tremens. You ever had that beer? It's like in the white bottle with the blue label, the pink elephants.
Yep. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah. So, like, I looked it up, and there's the Delirium Cafe, right? Which I thought, it's just like a bar, Delirium Bar.
Yeah.
Okay. And I look, they're open till 4 a.m. So this is, late in the night where I've been walking around, going all over the place. And we started walking there. It's like 2 a.m. or something. And we walk by this one bar. There's music playing. It sounds kind of African. I'm like, check this out. And my buddy, he had lived in Brazil for a long time. His wife's Brazilian. And he goes, no, this is Brazilian music. I know this music. Like, I know this genre exactly, So we stood, listening to this Brazilian band in the middle of Brussels for a little while. Then we walked up, made our way to what we thought was going to be the Delirium Bar. It was like, they call it the Delirium Village, which they literally had 3 or 4 buildings on this little small street. and there was like 4 or 5 delirium bars. I mean, it was like
Oh.
party central.
Huh.
Yeah, there was like the Delirium nightclub, the Delirium bar, the Delirium cafe, the Delirium absinthe lounge. I was like, what is this? There was people hanging out of the windows and the top floors. The street in between all the places were just crowded with people. It was a little nuts, honestly. It was like not kind of what we were looking for. We were just kind of wanted to chill, have some delirium. But this was like a lot of younger crowd, more like really party. If you want to party all night, it was one of those kind of spots.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which I was not expecting. I was like, but it was cool to see. We had a delirium there. We're like, all right, we did it. Check that off the docket. And then the next day, we decided it was a Sunday, so we're like, you know what, museum day. And so we went to the Comic Arts Museum, which I didn't know before that Belgium has a huge comics history. They actually, tons of famous cartoons and comics come from Belgium, like The Adventures of Tintin.
Yeah.
And the Smurfs.
Okay.
Which I didn't know that.
Yeah. Does that mean the Snorks are also...
It could be, yeah. I've asked, what's the other one? Asterix or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
There was a huge list of them. It was cool, they broke down the history, but it went to old. I mean, it talked about, how the hieroglyphics are original, comic strips into the medieval times when they were doing medieval kind of funny comic type style stuff. Or I guess medieval illustrations were the first ones to do the square by square kind of storytelling illustrations.
Yeah.
And then went into, the Belgium history and everything like that. And then after we went to the Rene Magritte Museum, he is their most famous and one of the most famous surrealist painters, which is kind of the one I really wanted to check out. And you've probably seen his work. The main painting that everyone knows is it's a man with a suit and a derby hat, and it has a floating green apple in front of his face. That's kind of I think is one of his famous paintings, or most famous, but that was pretty cool because you got to see his whole history. Before he was doing surrealist, he was doing graphic design for a lot of French magazines back in the early 1900s. So he was doing this really illustrative graphic work, and then all of a sudden he breaks into the surrealist scene, and kind of in a way in the beginning was dumbed down. Like his earlier work was really simple, not too complex in terms of the colors and the shading and everything like that. But then as he progressed, his art really got super advanced, and just the detail work and the kind of the composition and the subject matter was really cool, really intense. So that was awesome to see, in his hometown. And it was funny because we kept making jokes about going to see, try to find Jean-Claude Van Damme's house, the muscles from Brussels.
Yeah.
And I looked it up just to check it out. There is actually a statue of him somewhere in town. We did not go see it, but I thought that was funny. And then that night we went, then we actually had some really good Ethiopian food there, which, not Belgian, but it was delicious. We went to that beer museum. Unfortunately, the museum was closed already, but we got to go to the rooftop bar, which was really cool. So you're in this big old Renaissance-style building. You're on the rooftop. You see a beautiful view of the city. And just so happened, we get up on top, and right where we were at the balcony, we hear hip-hop music, and look over, and there's these cats breakdancing down on the street below us. I was like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. And so we had a beer there, and we went, walking around. We found another little local spot called Cafe Merlot, which is Merlot like the bird, not the wine.
Okay.
And that was probably one of our favorite spots on the whole trip that we went to, because it was just a local little dive bar. The people in there were super cool. The bartender was and it was funny because we walk in again, he's playing this Brazilian music, and my friend's like, what is going on? I keep hearing Brazilian music here. And the people, we started talking to this couple that was sitting next to us, this younger couple, and it was just funny, the interactions we had and the people we were meeting in that bar, because everyone was super cool. And I would say this about Brussels in general. Everyone we talked to and met were super chill, really nice. Everyone spoke English for the most part and didn't care if you spoke English to them or not. But But it was funny because I started telling this couple, and I think it brought up like something about conspiracy theories to my buddy, and he goes, "Oh, well, if you want to talk about conspiracies, you got to talk to my guy Damien here. He's got a radio show about it." And they're like, "Oh, really? What's your favorite conspiracy theory?" So I started breaking. I was like, "Well, what do you know about the Dark Enlightenment?" They're like, "What? What's that?" And then this other kid walks in, and he starts talking, and then it turns out he's a graffiti artist.
No way.
Yeah.
This always seems to happen to you.
I know, it's so weird. It's the universal matrix. It's all a hologram, man. Mm-hmm. So talking to him, it was really cool. We had a bunch of great beers, just good conversation. We were there all night. And then the next day, we were both we kicked it pretty hard the first 2 nights. So the third day, we're kind of like, all right, let's keep it a more chill day. So we ventured outside of the area that we were in, and let's check out a couple neighborhoods like farther away. And we went to St. Gilles and Ixelles. And St. Gilles was cool. We were walking around, found a couple cool little cafe bars, and then we just randomly walked up to this kind of plaza area in front of this old, huge hotel, like a big palace hotel. It was like the Hotel Villa, I think it was called. And it was an open air market, like a farmer's market, except they had these huge trucks with like an Italian deli. They had this huge one with cheese. They had obviously a Belgian beer stand. The craziest thing was they had a taco stand, and it was legit, real deal, good tacos. I'm from Chicago.
Yeah.
Been in Mexico. But I'm telling you, maize tortillas with cilantro and onions. My friend had al pastor one. Yeah. I had a veggie one, which had nopales on there, which is the cactus, which you don't see that hardly at places here.
Yeah.
I'm like, how am I getting a nopales veggie taco in Brussels?
Yeah.
It was so weird. So that was cool. We had that, talked to some people there, had a bunch of beers. Went over to Ixelles neighborhood and just walked around there, which was a little bit more modern kind of looking neighborhood. Or modern in the sense of like kind of Art Deco 60s, 70s style. It didn't have that old like 1800s vibe, That was cool. Just had dinner, and then we had to catch an early flight the next day to our adventures in Toscana, which we will talk about after this break on Think Theory Radio, right after this.
Yeah, the other day how you mentioned that there were no houses available in Tuscany?
You didn't find one, did you?
No, not really looking.
Nor should you.
But are you telling me there is not one house to rent in all of Tuscany?
The houses are passed down from generation to generation. It's very hard.
I can't get a sublet, a guest room, a cot, nothing?
It's booked solid.
It's booked, Jerry.
How'd you get yours?
Got lucky. Come on, Elaine, let's take a ride. I was about to pop in some Verdi.
Welcome back to a Think Theory Radio. Almost live from Toscana.
From the Villa of Chicago.
We are close to Villa Park.
Yeah. There's nothing really Italian about this section right here of Chicago, though, right?
No, it's definitely more Irish and Polish on this side.
Yeah.
But actually, it is not far from here, and from where I live is the Villa, which is off of Addison and Pulaski, and it's like this little pocket neighborhood with these really, if you ever get a chance, go over there, like these really cool old big homes, but they tried to mimic an Italian villa over there, although none of the houses look really like an Italian style, but just the concept, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's cool here. That's the closest you're going to get, I think, over here. Unless you go to like Harlem. There's like kind of a Italian neighborhood on Harlem Ave over there.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, so we ended up in Tuscany, which was kind of the main point of the trip because, like I said earlier, had been wanting to go with my friend because he's a big wine guy. He has all these connections, which literally we stayed in a winery or a vineyard. Like we stayed on the property at Felsina Winery. I have to give them and Chiara Leonini so much gratitude and thanks. They were so, hospitable, so nice. And just, it was an amazing experience. I mean, we stayed there for 3 days. And just so happened the day that we're getting in, they were doing a live concert on their property. And now this place, Felsina, has been around since about 1966, the vineyard, but the property itself is from the 1100s.
I was going to say 1966?
Yeah, the winery itself. But the property is from the 1100s. It was an old monastery and farmhouse.
Okay.
So the buildings that they housed, the wine cellars and all that, where we were staying in the Enoteca and the houses, the rooms were all from the 1100s.
Okay.
So it was amazing, like just the way the property was. And we get in and they're like setting up. They have these like piano players, flutes and oboes. Like they had the program and all these people came in. So it was kind of funny because my friends joking around like, see, this is what happens when you go to Italy. They do a concert for you. And then they did a huge dinner after the concert, like right on the property, outdoor, just a beautiful space. I mean, it's like one of those, you see it in like a travel show where you drive down the road with the big tall trees. You go and you're driving by these vineyards and you end up in this property and then there's like a fountain in the middle and these old, 11, like whatever that is, 12th century, 13th century buildings.
Yeah.
The old chapel was still there in the middle of the place. And, just people were really cool. We were talking to people and then had dinner. And we decided to go to a town that was, so where we are was in Chianti Classico, which is the huge wine area in Tuscany, along with the Brunello area, which is where we went the 2 days later. But we were about an hour from Florence and then less than a half an hour from Siena, which is another town, which I didn't know that Florence and Siena, it's like, Boston, New York, like beef, right?
Oh, okay.
Like, and it goes back to like,
some old hate.
Yeah, that goes back to like they're sacking each other's castles type beef, And so we went to Siena the first night to check it out. So Siena's a much smaller town. And which I guess you kind of could say it is kind of like Boston, New York. So it would be the Boston and Florence would be the New York.
Okay.
I was going to try to make a Chicago, but we don't really have that. I mean, Chicago, Milwaukee, I guess.
Chicago and Naperville.
No one can hold a candle to us, so there's no beef here, right?
I can get you a beef. You go down Narragansett, I can get you a good beef.
An Italian beef.
Yeah, an Italian beef.
And but it was like I don't know, Chicago, Detroit. Anyway, Siena was really cool. Smaller town than Florence, but it was, these big old buildings and just kind of, brick streets and you're walking through and it just had a very neighborhoody vibe, very, like you could tell everybody knew each other. All the kids are kind of hanging out late night, even like the cops, the guys they were harassing, you could tell they knew them, like it's the same vagrants or whatever,
Yeah.
Walked around. We got some gelato. Had to get, gelato in Italy. Which we did have a couple times. Actually, the best one we had was from this other winery that I'll talk about in a second. But so we walked around Siena, checked it out. It was really beautiful at night. The big old church and everything, and went there. And then, so the next day, was the planned day to do the whole tour of Felsina Winery. So we got up early. I mean, there was, every morning they made like breakfast for us. It was really, I mean, I can't get over the hospitality there. It was just amazing. And we get up and we're going to do this huge tour of the whole facility of Felsina, which was really cool because I've never done a winery tour or a vineyard tour before. And I'm not, I like wine, but I'm not going to act like I'm some kind of expert or know anything about it,
Yeah.
So I was the novice, my friend is the expert. He knows everything about it. But which was cool to be with him because you get to see like, okay, what different styles. He could explain it a little more to me, what was going on, what we were trying, where it came from, the history, all the different words you use. Like now I use phrases like mouthfeel and full bodied. Explosive. Actually, I dropped the mouthfeel one at one of the wineries. I was like, yeah, this has good mouthfeel. My friend was like, what? You said mouthfeel? I'm so proud of you. And so, yeah, it was really cool because we met up with them, and they took us through in this big old building into their cellars with these huge wine barrels. I mean, the wine barrels are probably like 6 foot tall by 10 foot long. You know, they're explaining to us all the different processes of how long this wine's been in here, how you have to get these certifications. You know, like Italy's very regulatory when it comes to wine and different things. Like there's like the DOC, which means I forget what the Department of Certification or something like that. But there's like the DOC, and then you got to get like the DOCG, which is like the extra certified. You're legit. Greatest wine ever kind of thing, you know. But the wine was huge. We're walking in there, and then they had all these kind of like I guess they'd done art exhibits there. So they had art on the walls and these cool like crystal looking, like not crystal like old, but like modern crystal like abstract art chandeliers.
Okay.
And then we go, and it's just like an endless line of wine barrels going down into the basement. And we walk down there, and they show us all these other smaller barrels. Like, well, this goes from here into these barrels, and these barrels will get sent out, you know, and all these different processes. So from there, we're going to tour the actual vineyards and see the grapes and everything like that. But on the way, they had already told us there was they have a brewery there now, right? And it just so happened as we were driving by the brewery, there was someone in there working, and so Kiara was like, "Oh, hey, she's in there making the beer. Do you guys want to stop in the brewery real quick?" We're like, hell yeah, you know. And I was like, "I'm more of a beer guy than a wine guy, so yeah, bring me in there, you know." And we stopped in. The woman was in there, Glory. She was working on a beer. She was actually working on a Belgian beer, which was really strange. Like, we just came in from Belgium. This is so weird. And she was super cool. We started talking to her. And I tell her, yeah, I'm from Chicago. You know, there's tons of breweries there. You know, I have a lot of friends that run breweries, and we're always at different breweries. And she goes, oh, yeah, we're actually working on a collaboration with the brewery from Chicago named Microphone. I'm like, oh, yeah, I know that place. I've never been there, but I've had their beer. It's a small local bar. I thought that was the weirdest thing, that the small brewery in Tuscany is working with the small brewery in Chicago just by chance, doing a collab.
Yeah.
Right?
And you happen to find out about this. Yeah.
And then she let us try some of the Belgian beers. She let us try this double IPA she was working on that was really good. And so we were in there for almost an hour, you know, just talking about beer and all the different processes. And you could tell Kiara's kind of like, all right, we got to get back to the wine tour now, you know. Grab a bunch of the beer. Well, you guys can drink it later. You're like, okay, cool. And so then we go on. They're taking us to these, you know, I think they have, they said 9 acres of a vineyard there, which is pretty huge.
Yeah.
They produce about 1 million bottles of wine a year at this winery.
Huh.
Which is pretty extensive, because some of the other ones we went to the next day, they were topping out at like 500,000. One did only maybe 80,000. So for them to do 1 million a year that's pretty good. And so yeah, we went there. We had a reservation later that night for a vegan restaurant that I found online. It was a vegan winery, farm-to-table restaurant.
Wow.
In the countryside of Tuscany.
Okay.
And so we booked a reservation there, and it was the coolest thing, too. It was near this town called San Gimignano, which I had heard about, and I think I've actually talked about on the show in one of the archaeology episodes, because it's one of it's one of those kind of ancient wonder places. They call it the medieval Manhattan, because it has all these huge towers, like these big skinny towers that are 15 stories tall. And now there's only half a dozen left, but there used to be at least 20 to 30 of them in this small little town. It's one of those walled cities that's kind of up on a hill, big old medieval place. So we went there first, had a couple drinks. Had a little spritz, little Aperol spritz. And the cool thing too there, if you're in a bar, they just you know how you get beer nuts and stuff? Yeah. There they bring you a charcuterie board.
Wow.
With bread and cheeses and meats. So here you go. It's like, oh, okay, we're about to go eat dinner, but fine, snack on some cheese. And so then we go to this place called Ipini, which was the vegan place, which was really amazing. I mean, the food was delicious. Like I said, it was all farm to table, organic. The wine was vegan. Although my friend was like, there's no such thing as vegan wine because you get like probably smashed up bugs and spiders in wine. It just happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but it was delicious. People were really cool there. We had this, kind of 3-course meal and dessert. Just sat outside. You can see San Gimignano in the background, and yeah, it was beautiful. Oh, you know what? Backtrack real quick because I wanted to mention this. I forgot to mention the Brussels one and this total sidetrack, but it was kind of cool. We sat in this one outdoor bar, and the waiter had a pack of cards in his apron, and my friend's like, "What's the cards for? Like, do people play, poker or whatever?" And I instantly knew. I was like, "It's magic, isn't it?" And he was like, "Yeah." He was a part-time magician. So my friend's like, "Can you do some tricks for us?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll show you some stuff." So he does I don't know what you call them, typical tricks, but he did the one where he like pulls all the cards out of his mouth.
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
And then he did the one where it's like you pick the card, right? Like, what's your card? Hold it, don't tell me. And then he pulls it like folded out of his mouth.
Okay.
Right? So we're like, wow, that's really cool, And he's like, yeah, I'm just part-time. He's like, I'm trying to incorporate it somehow into my, waiting, maybe work at a restaurant where I can do it like that. And he was also, after, he came back and checked up on us. And we were like, yeah, we can't stop talking about, how are you doing? We're trying to figure it out. He goes, I'll give you a little hint. He goes, basically, when you're doing card tricks, it comes from playing cards, like, poker games and everything.
Yeah.
So you know how people can shuffle decks really good and like really fast, do all kind of tricks? That's where all those the card tricks come from. So he's like, it's all sleight of hand in the shuffling. Right? So if you get really good at that, you can do any of the tricks. So he kind of broke it down to us, and he's like, although we still couldn't follow it because he was so fast.
Yeah.
But he's showing us, he's like, look, I'm gonna shuffle the deck, and he goes, see the ace, now it's at the top.
Yeah.
See the queen, now I got it at the top, now I got it in the middle. And it's like, oh, that it kind of like clicked and made sense, even though I still couldn't figure it out. Anyway, that was just kind of a cool little. I wanted to mention that because it was like one of those like happenstance things. Also did get some really good Belgian chocolate from Mary Grand across from that bar. And we did have Belgian waffles too. They were really good. All right, I'm back.
Back in Italy again?
Back to Italy. We went, San Gimignano, then we went back. The next day, we were doing the big day, 3 wineries in one day, which my buddy had booked, and he's like, we're going to do 3 in one day. He's like, you better man up, I'm like, all right. But it was also, we were doing we had the spittoons. We weren't like drinking full glasses of wine because I probably would have died. I mean, it was like, I think it was like 30 glasses. With the Felsina one, we went back to do their wine tasting. We had like probably 20 bottles, like glasses of wine with lunch, and they make their own olive oil too.
Oh, wow.
And they were like, we taste all these different olive oils that were amazing. So he taught me the trick. He's like, well, you can drink it all if you want. He's like, but I recommend you spit out here and there, like.
So where's the next place?
It was like part of me wanted to, but I was also like, I don't want to embarrass my friend and be out the drunk, Don't ever bring that guy back.
The drunk American at the Italian winery.
Exactly. We like the Conan, it's like a show you the Conan clip, which is where we were. So we went, the next day we went to Orino. Let me see, I had to write my notes here. The 3 ones we went to Pian dell'Orino, which was the first one, which was really cool because it was run by a German couple, John and Caroline. Very small winery, but all organic. And the guy, John, I feel like I have to get him on the show because he was like weird science of wine.
Okay.
Like legit, we're going through the vineyards, and he's explaining all about the microbes and how like you have to like let all the nature and the mycelium network and the fungus, and you have to use these different kind of trees connect with the vines because it grows better and it kills the disease, but you have to let this kind of fungus grow because it's better, and like all these different and it was really cool because like you don't want to disturb the land and all this and that, and like got really deep into it. The other cool thing is in their house he had a turntable collection. which was he had all these vintage turntables.
That's awesome.
We're like, whoa, this is cool, and he's all like, oh, do you know this one? Do you know, like, I don't know. I know the Technics 1200 from DJing.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
And he had, you know what he had? Do you ever hear this Lou Reed Metallica album?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I
I'm
had never
familiar
heard
with
that.
it. Yeah.
He had that on vinyl, and he was like, oh, do you want to hear it? He was like playing some of it. And that was really cool. Just the best thing was all three wineries were so different. So you had this one was all organic, really, he was super scientific about the way the process is, very much more kind of family run. Like I said, it was a smaller winery. There's just this couple living there, and then people, workers or whatever. And then the second one we went to is called Podere Leripe, which was a little bit bigger of a winery. They even have a restaurant on their grounds, and they have, I believe they have like a B&B there. I'm not exactly sure, but they had a restaurant, but they also had another place to do tastings and like serve food and everything. That one was really cool because they gave us lunch. The food was amazing. Had like eggplant parmesan. We had like a cheese plate, which really good. Like the cheese, people talk about like French cheeses. Italian cheeses are really good as well. And they do a lot of sheep's milk and goat cheese, really delicious taste. And then we had a bunch, ton of wines there as well. This is in the Brunello region, so it's a different style, not the Chianti Classico. So we were down there, and really delicious. And even they gave us, after lunch, some gelato, the house-made gelato, which was probably the best gelato I had in Italy. It was so good. And with a dessert wine, which I forget the name, which you did have some in Felsina too, but I can't remember the name of it. But it's really strong. And they call it like a meditative wine. Okay. Which is one that you kind of sit with and you sip it, and you drink it and you like meditate kind of, which I thought was a cool name. It's like, oh, a meditative wine. Yeah, I want to get into that. The view was awesome. You see the hills of Tuscany in the background. You can see their vineyards from the place. And, we sat there, we had a huge lunch, drank a bunch more wine, of course, spit out a lot. And then the third one we went to is Poggio di Sotto, which is like the more classic vineyard place, right? And it was up on this hill, like a beautiful house. It was like their office space, but you could you're looking down over the whole like villages and hills. And it was funny, so we walk up, and my friend's buddy, who's the winemaker there, he's like, welcome to my kingdom, We're like, yeah, So we go in there, we're drinking, and I will admit, I felt a little bad after, because I think I was kind of out of it at that point, and this was like the very classic wine. Like, I didn't even know, but my friend after told me, the bottles of wine we were drinking there were like $600 if you bought them here. And I'm like, what? I was spitting out $600 bottles of wine? I would have drank more if you would have told me that before. Yeah. And so that was cool. And, he broke down the history of the place and how they only do 3 wines, and my buddy was saying that's how they do them so good, because they concentrate on 3. That's what they do. The other place, like the middle one, they do a lot of different wines, different experiments. They try all different kind of things. The first one does several, more than 3, but they keep it more organic. So that was really cool, just trying all these different wines, seeing the different methods, different techniques, different philosophies of winemaking, which, for me, like I said, being a novice was pretty amazing to see. Like, I've never experienced that. I've seen it in beer. Like, I've been to a ton of breweries and, beer tours and stuff like that. But to see it in wine was pretty awesome, especially to be in Italy to do that. And nearby there is a town called Maltesino, which is also like another there's a lot smaller than any other of the cities we were in, but it was another kind of walled city. There's a castle there, and just kind of walk through. And I just so happened I wanted to stop in and get some like a anti-congestant kind of medicine. And we went in this pharmacy, and the guy's like, "Oh, do you know this is one of the oldest pharmacies in Italy?" And I was like, "What?" That's so random. It was like from like some friars set it up back in the 1300s or something. It's like, okay, that's the type of stuff you do in Italy, I guess. You had a 1300 pharmacy, pharmacies from the 1300s. So then that night And then I told my buddy, I'm like, dude, I haven't really had pizza in Italy yet. We had it once at this spot called Auto Grill, which is just like it's the Italian Howard Johnson's. It's legit like Howard Johnson's. Like it goes over the highway like Howard Johnson's used to be.
Yeah.
But it's like, they sell pizza and pasta and it's a grocery store or whatever. And we just had one real quick on the way from the airport. But I was like, come on, that's not real pizza. I want some real Italian pizza. Like, well, actually, this region, it's not really known for pizza. It's not what they do here. But he's like, well, let's see. Let's ask the people at the wineries, right? So we asked the woman at the second winery, and she recommended this place called Pomoderina in Siena, which was the first time I was talking about. So then we asked the third winery we went to, right? And he was like, well, I don't really know. Let me call my friend. And I told my buddy, I said, if they say the same pizza place, then we know it's legit.
You have to go. Yeah.
And they did. They said the same pizza place. So we went there, and it was delicious. Even my friend was impressed. He was like, wow, this is probably some of the best pizza I've had in Italy. So that was really cool. And the space was awesome because it was outdoor, right on the street. We could see the old church in Siena, so the view was amazing. We sat there. We had some I think we did drink beer there, not wine. We had enough wine. We're like, let's go back to beer. We had enough wine.
What was the name of the place?
It's called Pomoderina.
Okay.
Pomoderina. And it's in Siena.
So I'm just like kind of browsing pizza places in Siena right now, trying to see if I can find it organically.
It was really good. So we did there. Then we went back at Felsina, drank a bunch of the beers they had gathered for us, had a good night, hung out outside, and we're just like, it was so weird. It's like we're by ourselves walking around in this huge winery vineyard place. It's like, well, do we own this place? What's going on? Do we just move here? So our last day was the day to spend in Florence, or Firenze is the real name, which is weird, right? Like Firenze. How does Firenze become Florence in English?
I don't know.
Like Firenze, it's such a better sounding name.
Yeah.
Florence, it's like somebody's grandma.
Right, Florence.
So now I would love to go back to Florence and spend more time there because we only did a day. So it was like, kind of just walking around, absorbing. But we did go to one of the oldest kind of cocktail spots, which is called, where was it? I had it written down. Wait, hold on. But we went to, Riviore in Piazza della Signoria. If I'm saying that right, probably not. But they make, so Florence is where the Negroni comes from.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had a real deal Negroni in Florence. And it was right in this main plaza, right across from where they had the original David statue, the Michelangelo David statue.
Yeah.
Which they don't have the original outside anymore. It used to be, but they put a replica. Now they have the original inside, one of the museums or whatever. And we just walked around. It was really cool. Just randomly found these cool places. Like we ended up in this one spot called Contempo Record Store. We just saw this record store. Like, look at this cool old record store, It was from the 70s. We walk in and it's like the owner was this older dude. And we're like, yo, what's up with this place? He's like, oh yeah, I've been here since the 70s. He had a crazy collection of records. I bought a t-shirt from there. And then I guess we found out that it's a record label too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was pretty cool. Just randomly, found that place. And then we, walked around some more, found a cool little local bar, had a, another little Italian beer. And then we went, for our last meal, we went to, it's called Enoteca Spontanea, which means spontaneous, right?
Yeah, okay.
And it's run by this brother-sister duo, and I believe the brother's wife, too, works there. And it's small little place. They call it slow cooking or slow dining style place because I guess, that's a traditional kind of European way to eat. You just eat slow. They're not rushing you out. They're not trying to turn tables. But because back in the 80s and 90s when American fast food started to enter the place, things started to change and everything was fast food and that was the cool thing to do. So, a lot of the traditionalists kind of got outraged by it. They're like, no, we got to go back to the tradition, like, slow cooking. So they do it like that. And we legit had that European style dinner where we did like 3 hours. Mm-hmm. We're in there. We did like a 3-course meal kind of thing. We did like a big cheese plate. My friend got a big thing of some cured prosciutto or whatever. We had a bottle of champagne. Then I had one of the best ravioli I've ever had in my life. It was this kind of potato ravioli and some kind of like pistachio cream thing. It was so delicious. And I was like, wow, I get ravioli in Italy, which I always got there. Is that a real thing? Or is that like, an American, ravioli,
right, yeah.
But that was legit. It was really good. Then we had a little, and the owner was super cool. We're talking to him and, like after all right, get a little Amaro, for a little aperitif. We had some kind of like chocolate cake. That was like the decadent chocolate cake for dessert, but it was cool. We're just in there talking to people, just leisure, 3-hour dinner to wrap up the whole trip. And then a nice walk back through Florence. We actually walked over, there's this bridge in Florence. So back when the Nazis had invaded, they were blowing up all these bridges, right? Over, I think it's I forget which river, but they were blowing up the bridges. There was one old bridge left that's from like, I don't know, the 1100s, 1200s or something. And the Nazi commander that was in charge of blowing it up, he was supposed to blow it up and he didn't want to because it was like the last historic bridge. So he refused to do it. And that was one of the reasons that they were able to kick the Nazis out because he left this bridge open. And there's a plaque for him and everything there, like this historic landmark. And if it wasn't for, it's kind of crazy. We think about it, if it wasn't for this one Nazi commander, that it would be gone. That whole little area, this one little historic, and one guy was like, nope, I can't destroy all this history. So that's a lesson for you. Also, I would say this too, like people like worried about like, oh, what do they think about Americans? Do they hate us because of Trump and everything? No, they feel bad for us. They're like, are you guys okay? It's kind of like talking to like a kid with an abusive parent, like.
Well, I mean, they've kind of been through the fascism uprising over there.
Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of like.
They kind of know the deal.
Yeah, we've been through it. Yeah, you guys look like you're going through it.
Yeah, and they know the tariff thing's all on him. And also they're worried about it because yes, obviously they sell a lot of things here. But at the same time, they know it's only screwing us because what they're starting to do is find new markets. Mm-hmm. They're like, you know what? We're just going to move over to here. Like we're going to go, Slovenia. We're going to do China. We're going to do all these other countries. There's a lot of developing countries that now have money. They're going to start moving to. So
yeah, it ended on that note.
I know. But don't worry, they still love us. Travel. It was easy to get in and out of the country. Don't disparage. You can do it. That's it for Think Theory Radio. We'll be back again next week and every Saturday, 6 7 p.m. right here on WCPT 820 Think Theory Radio.